Rory McIlroy shoots a shocking 78, one of the worst finishes of his PGA Tour career. When that headline blasted across PGA Tour media and TheScore pushed the alert to millions of fans, the golf world froze. The RBC Canadian Open wasn't supposed to be a disaster. It wasn't supposed to be historic for all the wrong reasons. But as Rory walked off the 18th green with his shoulders sunk and the leaderboard showing a number no one expected to see next to his name, the entire sport felt the ground shift. And in that moment, everyone knew something was seriously wrong. You could practically hear the gasp ripple from Toronto to every screen around the world. Fans stared at their phones like they'd misread the score. Commentators jumped into emergency mode, scrambling to explain what just happened to one of the most talented players of his generation. Social media erupted into pure chaos. Confusion, disbelief, concern, memes, arguments, and endless theories. This wasn't the Rory fans we're used to seeing. This was something darker, and the shock didn't fade. It grew. The visuals told the story almost too brutally. Rory's name plummeted down the leaderboard like a stone dropped into a lake, every hole feeling heavier than the one before it. The cameras caught frustration in his eyes, a look that even seasoned analysts struggled to read. Newsweek didn't sugarcoat it. They labeled it one of the worst PGA Tour performances of his entire career. No misprint, no exaggeration, straight reality. And that headline spread like wildfire. But here's the part that made this meltdown bigger than just a bad round. Rory McIlroy isn't just another golfer. He's one of the sport's beating hearts, a global icon, a major champion, a defining voice in the PGA versus LIV era. When he stumbles, the entire ecosystem feels the tremor. And at the RBC Canadian Open, this wasn't a stumble. It was a collapse nobody saw coming, and the fallout from this moment was only just beginning. If you zoom in on Rory McIlroy's scorecard from that brutal week, the numbers tell a story he never wanted written. His driving accuracy, normally one of the sharpest weapons in his arsenal, completely unraveled. Shots leaked left, drifted right, and refused to obey the rhythm he usually controls so naturally. Add in a short game that kept betraying him, leaving chips too long and putts too timid. And suddenly every hole felt like a rescue mission instead of an opportunity. And that's when people realized this was no ordinary off day. Something deeper was slipping. CBS Sports had already warned us. During the first round of the 2025 PGA Championship at Quail Hollow, Rory looked unsettled, missing lines he normally attacks with confidence. Analysts pointed out the same patterns: loose tee shots, frustrated expressions, and body language that didn't match a major champion fresh off a Masters victory. They described that round as disappointing, but in hindsight, it was a red flag waving in plain sight. And yet, almost no one believed the storm was really coming. Then Reuters delivered another clue. At the Australian Open, McIlroy faltered again, bogeying 6 holes and never finding a rhythm. It wasn't just the score, it was the vibe. He looked like a man searching for something that wasn't there. Tempo, touch, clarity. A pattern was forming, and fans who connected the dots felt a chill. Because once a pattern appears, a slump becomes harder to ignore. But the emotional weight behind all this might be the biggest piece of the puzzle. After winning the Masters, expectations for 2025 skyrocketed. Fans demanded dominance. Commentators predicted a career surge. Even Rory admitted he felt he hadn't found momentum in the weeks that followed. Pressure doesn't always crush talent. Sometimes it erodes the edges slowly, quietly, until the cracks suddenly become visible to everyone. And that's exactly what made this collapse feel different. So now the question lingers in the air, heavier each week. Is this just a slump, or the beginning of a bigger unraveling? Because the signs are starting to point somewhere nobody wants to look. The moment Rory's collapse became official, the media machine spun into overdrive. Analysts across networks, Sky, CBS, Golf Channel, all echoed the same unsettling word: concerning. For a player of Rory McIlroy's caliber, a single bad round is nothing. But a meltdown of this scale, that's different. It sent experts scrambling to reevaluate everything they thought they knew about where Rory stood heading into the heart of the 2025 season. And when analysts start to panic, fans know something serious is brewing. The golf world's reaction split instantly down the middle. One camp clung to hope, insisting, "He'll bounce back, he always does." They pointed to his talent, his resume, his history of rising from slumps like a phoenix. But the other camp wasn't feeling optimistic this time. They whispered, and sometimes shouted, that this looked different, like the early stages of a decline nobody wants to admit. And that divide grew louder with every refresh of social media feeds. Twitter, Reddit, and golf forums lit up in a way that felt eerily similar to the Rory Bryson Levy drama years. Debates turned into battlefields. One side defended him with passion, the other questioned whether the pressure, the expectations, and the relentless schedule had finally taken their toll. Suddenly, every mishit became a symbol, every expression became evidence, every rumor became fuel. That's when the ripple turned into a wave. Sponsors and commentators joined the conversation, raising questions nobody dared to voice a year ago. Is Rory burnt out? Has the schedule become too heavy? He's one of the busiest, most marketed players in golf. And when your face is everywhere, the weight on your shoulders becomes heavier than any trophy. Experts began wondering if Rory's drive was clashing with exhaustion, and the possibility of burnout sent shock through the sport. But the biggest ripple of all? When Rory struggles, the entire narrative of the season tilts. TV ratings shift. Major championship storylines bend. Golf's emotional center loses balance. This wasn't just a missed cut. It was a tremor, shaking everything built around him. And the aftershocks were only getting stronger. When Rory McIlroy struggles, the PGA Tour doesn't just lose a contender, it loses its center of gravity. Rory is the tour's most reliable needle mover, the player who boosts ratings, headlines, and global attention with a single swing. So, when he collapses on a stage like the RBC Canadian Open, the PGA Tour feels it like a body shot. Star power isn't a luxury for the tour, it's oxygen. And right now, that oxygen got a little thinner. And that's when people realized this slump wasn't just a Rory problem. It was a business problem. The tour's dependence on marquee players isn't a secret. When Tiger faded, Rory became the unofficial face of the modern era, the steady heartbeat that kept storylines alive. But when that heartbeat stutters, events lose shine, narratives lose momentum, fans drift. Tournaments built around superstar gravity suddenly feel lighter, less urgent. The tour needs Rory sharp, not spiraling. And this timing couldn't have been worse. Because here's where the rivalry angle roars back to life. Critics immediately pulled out Jack Nicklaus's warning that Live Golf is buying the game. And whether fans agree or not, they can't deny the optics. While Rory, the PGA's most vocal defender, fights through his lowest form in years, Live quietly gains the advantage of stability. They don't have to do anything. They just have to watch the PGA wobble. And for a league built on disruption, that's a win without lifting a finger. Analysts are already whispering the dangerous possibility. Rory's slump could reignite the PGA Live war. As one of the tour's loudest pro-PGA voices, his vulnerability creates a narrative vacuum. The PGA loses its sharpest spokesperson. The rivalry conversation, once cooling, heats back up, and rivals sense blood in the water. Because when the shield weakens, the battlefield changes instantly. And the competitive landscape? It's shifting fast. Majors suddenly feel more unpredictable. Younger players sense opportunity. Veterans quietly wonder if the hierarchy is changing. Momentum that once belonged to Rory disperses into the field. This isn't just a form dip, it's a structural tremor, and the sport can feel the floor move beneath it. Now the world is asking the question Rory McIlroy hoped would never come this soon. What does this mean for his legacy? Will he ultimately be remembered as a generational talent who rose above every slump? Or as a superstar whose brilliance flickered at the wrong moment in his career? Every champion faces crossroads, but Rory's feels heavier because it's happening in the most scrutinized era of golf history. And that pressure doesn't wait for anyone to catch their breath. What makes this moment even more intense is what's at stake in the coming months. World ranking shifts are ready to pounce the moment he slips again. Major championship expectations are already cracking under the weight of uncertainty. And confidence, the invisible fuel that carried him through comebacks before, is now the biggest variable of all. One brilliant week could fix everything, or one more collapse could deepen the spiral. and fans can feel how thin that line has become. But the bigger question stretches beyond Rory himself. What does this mean for golf's future? Are we witnessing the start of a chapter where the sport's longtime anchor begins to drift from contention? Or is this the storm before an even bigger comeback? And if Rory does step back, even temporarily, who steps forward to fill that void? The landscape is shifting fast, and the next few tournaments may define not just a player, but an era. Because when icons wobble, the whole sport adjusts around them. So here's the truth no one can ignore. This wasn't just a bad week. It was a warning shot. And the entire world of golf felt it. Do you think Rory McIlroy bounces back stronger? Or are we watching a slow slide into something more serious? Drop your thoughts in the comments and make sure you subscribe so you don't miss any of the real drama still to come.